You know, men not giving women space in general is a big issue. And I don't think that men realize that there's no benefit to being up a woman's ass. Like, if you're always there and available to somebody, then you're at their disposal. I was reading a book one time on love languages, and we've talked about that, but more or less it got me to thinking, and it's not my original idea, but I kind of know a good way to present it. But, and maybe we've talked about it, but relationship string theory. And if you think about two people and having a piece of rope tied to you, if you're always this close and up someone's ass, then there's slack in the rope, there's no tension. But if you give people space when they need space and you create some tension, almost like tug of war, then eventually that's going to pull you back together. And like even relationships with your kids, like your kids need space too. Overly nice and overly eager, people get shit on. And it's also a great reason to not be a slave to your phone and worry about shit like people not texting you back. And it's taken a while for me to learn that, and just kind of telling you about my journey. And I think that same principle applies to friendships or any relationship. You know, my experience has been, and I've been in mostly lengthy relationships, like I've hardly had any time period where I was just being sleazy. I've done it, everybody's done it. I did it in college. Men and women that are puppy dogs in relationships and always at their partner's disposal, they get shit on and they get taken for granted. And I'm not saying to not treat your partner well. Like, I think men should, you know, use chivalry and open doors and treat their women well, buy them flowers. There's a lot of things that are very traditional in the relationships that I do still when I'm in a committed relationship. But at the same time, I have been that person in the past that was a puppy dog, and eventually the attraction just dies. Like, yeah, you're trying to treat them right, like you have good intentions, but then they're just like, this douchebag's gonna do whatever I want him to do. You know, he's a slave to me, essentially. And it goes for women too. Women overdo it, and then they could be the best partner, girlfriend, wife, mother in the world, and then their partner takes them for advantage and just goes and bangs somebody else and assumes they'll probably be there waiting when they get back and are probably too naive to even know about it. So it happens both ways. I've had to learn the hard way, so it's changed me for the better. So I mentioned a couple minutes ago that your kids need space too, and I'm experiencing that with my daughter right now. I have the very emotionally delicate preteen, and it's very common these days for her to be in a really bad mood in the morning and then right after school, and then sometimes in between as well. So yeah, I'm learning how to handle that. And sometimes it's trying to think of the way to phrase it. Sometimes it's me maintaining my end of it and keeping a cool temperament, with it being a bit irrational at times. So it's really funny because on the mornings when I drop her off, I usually get like a really big couple of waves. Like, she'll wave at me before she goes in the door, and then I can see her through the glass waving again. Sometimes she'll blow me a kiss. But in the mornings, like this morning when she was irritated, I get the wave that's just kind of like, and then it's like all right, go away now, but I'm still gonna wave at you. And I can gauge her mood by whether I get the second couple of window waves. When she goes in the door, she'll look at it and look at me. If she's happy, wave at me, sometimes blow me a kiss, be real sweet. If she's upset, I'll get the, she's turned away and she's walking away and waving. If she's really upset, I don't get the second wave. So it's definitely entertaining at times and challenging. And of course, people are optimistic, like, oh, she's a preteen now, just wait till she's older and actually a teen. I'm like, I don't know. There's probably not a big difference. So, never a dull moment. What they say about teenage daughters and preteens is true, but I like to think that life leading up to this has prepared me for it, if anything can, because last couple of years, my patience has gotten a lot better. I'm a lot more chill and relaxed. I saw an opportunity that I need to work on that in many ways. So a lot of improvement there, but just learning to give people space in general, your friends, your partner, your spouse, your boss, even when they're upset. A lot of people have that puppy dog reaction and think that being up their butt or being overly nice when someone's mad at you is what they want, when a lot of the time they just need to be left alone. They need to process their thoughts. They need to cool off. And I actually had that experience with a pretty new friend recently that worked out, and it took that person a few months, really, overall, at least 2, to kind of warm back up to me. And I knew kind of partly what I had done wrong, and it was my fault. It was entirely my fault, but I didn't know until we had this conversation one evening exactly where they stood. And it was one of those things where I had liked them and I was like, oh, they're pretty cool, this kind of stinks. And then here we are 2.5 months later, and they come at me with their side of it. And they were just kind of waiting to see, I think, what I did, what I would do, and getting a feel for whether or not they could trust me or not. So it comes full circle, and old me, probably even a couple of years ago, wouldn't have given that needed space, because I didn't have an understanding of people like I do now. And to anyone who thinks you're just kind of complacent and you can't self-improve, that is absolute BS and bullshit. You can improve on something every day. Educate yourself, watch people watch, read books about it, watch podcasts about it. There's a lot of good literature, and I was pretty skeptical of some of that stuff too. But self-development is real, and you can do a lot of it yourself without help, just paying attention to your mannerisms and how you treat people and interact with people. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we want to treat each other kind and with kindness, love, and respect, and not hate on people, even if they're people that irritate the crap out of you. Take the high road and be kind to them. Give them space if you need to. Sometimes they come back around.